Other people in this room have been alive. So there's a wonderful singer named Holly Near, and she wrote a marvelous song called Singing for Our Lives, which begins, "We are gentle, angry people." And you'll hear how it goes in a second. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This is Cantor Laura Bourbon. Say hi. This is Rabbi Karen Gorbin. Say hi.
Hi.
Together, we are the team that tries to take care of 750 families here and still make our impress on the community as well. Woody Allen, who's had such a challenging life, actually got something right. He said 85% of life is showing up. And you have shown up tonight as we have shown up. The song goes like this. I'm going to move it up one, there. We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives with harmonies too. We're a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We're a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing for our... We are peaceful, loving people. We are peaceful, loving people, and we are singing for our lives. We are peaceful, loving people. We are singing for our lives. Just ooh or hum. To ask Grace and Honig to bring her family up to the front of the pulpit as we initiate Shabbat by lighting candles and the blessing over sweet wine. It's our custom, if you are able, to rise in your place for these special prayers that begin our sacred time. So you're going to take this, and as she lights, you're going to read this paragraph right here into the microphone.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who beholds us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, ruler of all, who makes us holy with commandments from the Torah and commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Your turn. We have Kiddush here, which is the sanctification of wine. We'll sing the appropriate parts. You lead us nice and loud and strong.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kosher v'avadu ratzon im hilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereishit ki hu yom tehillah lemikra kodesh Zecher l'Tzion Mitzrayim Kivanu b'chorta
just juice. So give some to your sister and to your parents. And will everybody please be seated? How many of you saw Fiddler on the Roof? A bunch of you, I know. So please join in the music as you know it. It's a beautiful version of our Sabbath blessing for goodness for everyone. May the Lord protect and defend you. May God always shield you from shame. May you come to be in paradise a shining name. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen us, O Lord, and keep us from the stranger's ways. May God bless you
and grant you long
May the Lord fulfill a Sabbath prayer for you.
May God keep you and shield you from strife.
May God in God's wisdom always care for you. May the Lord protect and defend you. May the Lord preserve you from pain. Favor us, O Lord, with happiness and peace. Oh, hear our Sabbath prayer. Amen. May the Lord protect and defend you. Amen. We continue with a special reading, and we read together on the screen. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love.
All who are lonely
for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden,
thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be for all who enter the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
Not everyone spoke up against the Nazis, but Martin Niemöller did. His famous words, we read them together. First they came for the socialists,
and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me.
One of the most beautiful songs for Shabbat is called Lecha Dodi, Let the Bride Come In. This is a fairly new song in Judaism. It's only 500 years old. It was written in Sfat, or Safed in northern Israel. And by the way, I seem to have lost my capo, so we'll see if we can find that somewhere. Oh, there it is. Very good.
That's mine, but I'll let you use it.
Okay, thank you. So there's a chorus. The imagery is of that of the bride. Let the bride come in. Rabbis and regular people would dress in white and go out into the hills of the northern Galilee to greet the Sabbath bride. And they would greet her with these beautiful songs of praise. In the very last verse, you will not be able to see the words because we'll actually all be facing the rear. And because at the very end, the last phrase of the last verse, Bo'i kala, may the bride come, we bow to this door. Mark may actually help the bride come in. Or maybe the bride will come in from the parking lot over there. We don't know. But it goes like this. La 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 lecha dodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nikam, la 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 lecha dodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 b'nei Shabbat, V'nei Shabbat nikabla. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Yishli'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad. U'shemo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'litila. The chorus is l'chadodi. Dai, dai, dai. La, 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 l'chadodi. La 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 likrat gala. La 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 b'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nikabla. Likrat Shabbat. Likrat Shabbat. Lechu v'nelcha. Ki hi mekor ha'beracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha. B'mashva hatchila l'chadodi. Dai, dai, dai. La 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 l'chadodi. La 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 likrat gala. La 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 b'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nikabla. Hidorari. 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 Yiva'oreh umi uri. Uri, uri. Shidaberi. Kevod Adonai alayich niglai. Dai, dai, dai. La, 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 la. Please everyone to rise. Face the rear. La, 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 la. B'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nikabla. Boi v'shalom. Ateret bala. God v'simcha u'tzala. Tochem unei. Here's the big moment. Bow to the left. Boi chalam. Then to the right. Boi chalam. Dai, dai, dai. Turn around. L'chadodi. Please be seated. Chagara. La 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 la. B'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nikabla. La 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 l'chadodi. La 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 likrat kala. La 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 b'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nikabla. Turn around, say Shabbat Shalom, and see if the person next to you maybe is the bride, or maybe the groom, but say hello, say Shabbat Shalom. I don't know what happened to him.
Nice to see you, Shabbat Shalom.
Don't forget you're coming up with a shamru, okay?
You can sing from back here, too. Okay.
I've checked. Is that mine?
Introduce it?
Very good.
Okay.
So, listen, we have a lot of beautiful metaphors we use for Shabbat. One is the bride, and the other is we welcome Shabbat with the spirit of angels. Shalom Aleichem means peace be unto you, but we have peace be unto you in the form of the angels that really are A, the angels of our better natures, which we celebrate tonight, and B, the angels that guide us and carry us into a day of rest. A day that in my perfect world is without devices. So take a moment and turn off your device. I mean, I know I love your ringtone Stairway to Heaven. It might be appropriate for here, but not in this instance right now. So there's a version that Cantor Berman has taught us that they actually do at EKC. Anybody here go to EKC? Very good. And it involves your fingers. So even if you don't know the words, you can see the translation up there underneath in the smaller print. And she's going to show you how we use our fingers to increase the volume and spirit of welcoming Shabbat angels.
Right. So as Rabbi Gibson said, we're going to start out softly, and we only need one finger on each hand, and we're going to tap 3 times on each side.
3 times.
And each verse, we're going to add a finger until we have a whole hand. And until we have two whole hands, actually. And as we make more sound with our hands, we're also going to make more volume with our voices. And as if we're calling those Shabbat angels to come and spend Shabbat with us, help us sanctify our Shabbat. And in the last verse, we say, Tzeitchem l'shalom. Go in peace. But in some customs, we might also say, come again in peace. And we will certainly do that as we do every Shabbat. We welcome these angels. So, two fingers. Okay. Shalom Aleichem. Ready? Softly first. Shalom Aleichem.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Malachei Hasharet.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Malachei.
Like this.
Na 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 na. Mi melech. Malachei Hamlachim. Hakadosh Baruch Hu na 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 Boachem l'shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon na 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 Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim.
Come on.
Hakadosh Baruch Hu na 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 na. Little louder. Baruch Hu l'shalom. Malachei Hashalom. Malachei Elyon na 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 na. Mi Melech. Malachei Hamlachim. Hakadosh Baruch Hu na 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 na. Tzeitchem l'shalom. Malachei Hashalom. Malachei Elyon na 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 na. Mi Melech. Malachei Hamlachim. Hakadosh Baruch Hu na 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 na. Louder. Shalom Aleichem. Malachei Hasharet. Malachei Elyon na 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 na. Mi Melech. Malachei Hamlachim. Hakadosh Baruch Hu.
Woo! Quick learners. Wonderful. Thanks for helping. The next prayer is called the Chatzi Kaddish. It's a doxology, a belief in God. It's actually in Aramaic, which Jesus spoke and understood fluently. It was part of the language that was used as Hebrew was adapted into the Greek and Roman Empire. It is our custom, if you are able to rise. That's Samuel up there, by the way, one of our favorite people in the world. What?
It's not Samuel.
Well, it looks like him there. Okay.
Yikada veyitkada shemeraba Yalama divrachirute v'yamelich v'chute B'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayircho Beit Yisrael Bagala bagala Uvizman kari v'imeru Amen Yehesh meraba mevora Li'olam le'al me'al maya Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitbar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha Brichu li'ela minkom bechata v'shirata Tush bechata v'nechemata Tamiran b'alma v'yimeru Amen. Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Amen. Please, everybody, sit down. That is our collect. That is our call to worship. I'm on 4. After we have our Baruch Hu, the blessing that actually formally begins the service, we have blessings. Those are paragraphs that end. Praise are you, Adonai, our God. And we thank God for nature, the sun, the moon, and the stars. And then we're going to thank God as well for the love shown to us by giving us the Torah, giving us an instruction and a history and a narrative and poetry. Then we're going to recite Deuteronomy 6:4, the watchword of our faith, the Shema. and we're going to recite the words in Hebrew after that as well. And then we'll do a blessing for God intervening in history to save us at the Sea of Reeds. And finally, a blessing for lying down in peace and waking up in the morning. We'll talk about that in a minute. So if you don't know Hebrew, this is a very simple verse. See it up there? Roll into it. See, there are the three rivers right there. Rabbi Gorban.
Roll into dark,
Roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night.
You can keep going.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns. Roll into dark. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night.
Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim.
Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
A creative poem that is appropriate for Ahavat Olam, God's great love for us. We read it together, look at all the pictures, or look around and see the wonderful faces of God that are in this room. We read together.
Teach us, God, to treasure the differences that distinguish one person from another. Fill us with the strength to overcome senseless fear and hatred. Open our hearts to the radiance that shines forth from every human soul. Inspire us to shed our apathy. Remind us that it is our obligation to be responsible for one another. Open our ears to the cries of all who are in need of our assistance. Give us the courage to combat prejudice and intolerance wherever they exist. Teach us to see each other through your eyes, God. In your eyes, all people are equally loved, equally precious. Bless us all, God, with compassion, with kindness, and with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Praised are you who loves not just Israel, but all of humanity. It's our custom to rise for this prayer, and Lenora's going to come up. Any kids who are from our religious school are here who know how to do open up our eyes and sign language and the Shema, come on up now. 1, 2. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. seated, everyone. The passage right after this in Deuteronomy is well known by all of my Christian friends, because when Jesus is asked what is the most important law, it is to love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, all your might. We're simply going to do that in the original language, to the original chant that we know.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We join together in an interpretation of that passage. Love your God
with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
One of the great political essayists, Michael Walzer, wrote these words about what it means to always be seeking redemption, to always be seeking freedom. Standing on the parted shores of history,
we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
We sing a song of freedom, a song
Exodus
of redemption.
15, the Song of the Sea.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה.
For the intrepid, you could try it with us.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, אנו ויעם.
Adonai Yimloch Le'olam, God will reign forever.
אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced.
Do that again. 1, 2, ready, and
the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
So, please, Rabbi Gordon.
The wilderness is a very scary and dangerous place, and so we ask for God's protection through that time, through that space where we might not feel like we know exactly where we're going, or what will happen to us along the journey. So the words of Hashkivenu ask for that protection, but we're also going to mash this up with a song that I hope is a little bit more familiar to the general community, Matisyahu's One Day, which speaks of the hope that we have that one day we will be in a place where everyone will live in peace.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu leChaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu leChaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Hamideinu Shomreinu leChaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom.
And I pray, don't shake me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will say, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Day this all will change, treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same sun, singing songs of freedom like one day, one day, Eloheinu Shalom, Hamideinu Shomreinu leChaim.
One day, one day,
Eloheinu leShalom, Hamideinu Shomreinu leChaim. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
Amen. So before we enter the central prayer of the service, where we have 7 blessings, 7 paragraphs that end Baruch atah Adonai, praising God for God's power in the world, God's presence in our history, there's a passage, Exodus 31:16-17, which says, Shabbat, this incredible time, this moment of breaking up our daily routine, is our eternal heritage. And it's our tradition here that our students lead us in Vishamru. It's all in Hebrew, but you can see the translation just below. And if you know the chorus, well, join in.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותה ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותה ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבה וינבש, שבה וינבש, ואת השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We'll hear a lot more from you. You don't get away. We give everybody a party shirt. Party is Pittsburgh Area Reformed Temple Youth. The Temple Sinai there. Let's see how it looks. Oh, the height of elegance. Or a sleep shirt, we're not sure which. But we'll see more of Grayson tomorrow at about 10:30 here in this room.
And Grayson, we give you that shirt so that you will actually join us in our party events.
Yes, and join our youth group and be part of what we do here. Wonderful. The middle part of our service is called the Amidah. La'amod in Hebrew means to rise or to stand. And if you look at these froggies, the most difficult prayer of all is that we be able to open our mouths and pray and let ourselves go to be able to do that. So we ask you to rise if you are able.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Koneh HaKol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, u'mevii Geula livnei b'neihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. There are many ways in which we can understand what the purpose of Shabbat is. Sometimes we use Shabbat as a retreat from all that is going on in the world and in our lives. And at other times, Shabbat is a call to us, a call to move us forward into what we ought to be doing and ought to experience. So we join together. Disturb us, Adonai.
Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfactions amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat.
Whatever, it's fine.
The Avodah is a prayer that asks God to accept our prayers. And Cantor Berman will read for us a passage by Rabbi Naomi Levy, who writes about what it actually means to be a prayer.
Before she does, excuse me, I should turn on the mic. Before she does anybody recognize that picture? It's from O'Hare Airport, the week of the travel ban, where a Muslim child sat on the shoulders of his father.
Her father.
And a Jewish child sat on the shoulders of his father. Excuse me, her. I said him. And they talk about empathy. And they talk about not doing this again. Coming together in strength, faith, and ultimately friendship against the threats that would drive us apart.
Please join me. True prayer leads us to action. Dr. Abraham Joshua Heschel was a brilliant theologian and a compassionate social activist. When he marched for justice with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, Alabama, he proclaimed, "It felt as if my legs were praying." The goodness we perform in this world is our highest prayer. When we struggle to repair this world, when we rise above our complacency and compassion, charity, and love, we are praying. When we fight to eradicate poverty, injustice, and war, when we take the time to perform acts of kindness, we are praying. When we gather the strength to give of ourselves to those who desperately need our assistance, instead of averting our gaze, we are praying. I am my prayer to you, God, the psalmist cried out. When our actions embody our soul's deepest yearnings, we become prayer. Praise are you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otacha levadcha, b'yirah na'avod.
A sage once wrote that whenever we reach out to help someone who is suffering, God speaks words of gratitude to us. God says, "Thank you for saving my life." What does this mean? Why would God say these words? Isn't God immortal? How can any person save God's life? I'll explain. When a poor mother lives on the streets with her children, she cries out day after day, "Help me, God, save me. Lift me and my children out of hunger and homelessness." And when no help comes, when she watches people walk by her without even glancing her way, she lowers her head to the ground and says to herself, "There is no God. God is dead." But when someone draws near and provides solace and support, she turns her face up to the heavens and whispers, "Thank you, God." Whenever we rise above our indifference and complacency, whenever we refuse to ignore cries of suffering, whenever we make the choice to help any human being in need, we become God's partners. And a sacred voice echoes across the world, speaking softly, "Bless you, thank you for saving my life."
Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimecha ulechana el hodot.
Blessed are you, Adonai. Your
name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving.
The seventh prayer is for peace. It may surprise you, but in Hebrew, shalom does not mean peace. As I said last week, peace is from the Latin word pax, P-A-X. The Pax Romana wasn't very paxful. It was enforced at the tip of a spear. Shalom, like salam, means wholeness, completeness, fulfillment. This is one of our favorite tunes for Shalom Rav. If you know, please join in. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Tasim le'olam, Tasim le'olam, Tasim le'olam.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamavarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, who brings abundant peace to Israel and by extension the entire world. We have prayed many prayers that were written by others, some modern, some etched in our ancient tradition. We'd like you to take a moment now and pray what's etched on your heart. A prayer that nobody can say but you, that does not require you to even move your lips. Maybe it's a prayer to let go of the fear that enveloped all of us this week. Maybe it's a prayer that we will be guided by our better angels and that we will refuse to be divided, that we, in some sense, will not hope to overcome, but we shall. Please pray your own private prayers in silence. Our formal prayer ends with a prayer to the maker of peace in the heavens to let peace rain down upon us and all those who live on earth. This is one of the last tunes of an incredible woman of spirit named Debbie Friedman. If you know it, please join in. I like the fact that she includes not just Israel, but everyone. It goes like this. Oseh shalom b'imroma uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei Te'el. See the English at the bottom to the right. Let's read it together. May the one
who makes peace in the high heavens bring peace for us, to all Israel, and to all who inhabit the earth.
And let us say, Amen.
For guests of our congregation today, and there are so many, and we're so delighted that you're here, you should know that we never gather without a prayer for healing. This prayer is in Hebrew and English. It was written by the same woman who wrote the tune we just sang. Every single one of us knows somebody who's in a hospital and terrified about what might happen in just the next few days. Every one of us knows somebody in a nursing home facing a long weekend with possibly not even one visitor. Every one of us knows someone who walks the earth with a stone on the heart or faces the daily battles of sobriety. We wish all of them refuah shlema, which is healing of body, mind, and spirit. It's our custom here that at this point, for you to think of those names of those for whom you wish healing. As I look at your part of the congregation, we invite you, if you would like to say the name out loud, to enter our collective heart, that we might pray for all of them together. You don't have to, and please don't raise your hand. It's not class. Just call out the name or whisper it quietly. As we sing the Mishaberach or the healing prayer, You might sing along with us. You might be quiet and let it wash over you, or simply say amen. How you focus on the healing of those dear to you is what is truly sacred at this moment. So I'm going to look at your part of the congregation and just call out names of people for whom you wish healing on this Shabbat. Just call it out. Back. Just call it out.
Batili, Leafiga.
Barry Goldstein, Cindy Goodman, Ellen Solomon. Mishebeira avotenu mekor Abraham imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishebeira b'imotenu before Abraham avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. So we've been blessed with the presence of extraordinary leaders here who spent their lives dedicated to God. In this room right now, in the front row and scattered throughout the congregation, more than 500 years, a half a millennium, spent serving God in the way they know best, with honesty and integrity, and the willingness to cross boundaries and to come to a place that is not their own and pray in a language they may not have ever prayed in before. I'm going to ask a few of our incredible guests to offer a few thoughts, and then Rabbi Gorban will read the letter that was written to our Jewish world by the president of the Reformed congregation in Charlottesville, watching these events literally across the street from where they were trying to pray for Shabbat. It's my honor to invite the bishop of the Lutheran Church, Kurt Kusserow, to come, and here's a microphone right here, and just speak to everyone. Here we go. Yes, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rabbi Gibson. I really appreciate your invitation to all of us to come. I'm Kurt Kusserow, Bishop of the Southwestern Pennsylvania Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Pleased to say Martin Niemöller was one of ours. People of God, peace be with you all. A week ago, we watched in horror as enemies of peace felt bold enough to come out of the shadows and into the open, and the result was a public violence and several unnecessary deaths. And along with those visible and public wounds, the result was a widespread alarm in the hearts of many people across this country that was not as easily seen, but just as real. Your rabbi's invitation to me and other faith leaders to come together in this place tonight is to comfort and encourage us in our fears so that we can work together then in a public way to address the wounds in our country with the central work of mending and of healing. The prophet Jeremiah says, "Seek the welfare of the city that I send you to, for in its welfare you will find your welfare." And I wonder if the corollary is also true. I wonder if tending to our welfare, our well-being together, we will also then have the ability to care for the city that we live in. So here's what I'm thinking. A couple of weeks ago, my wife's great uncle died at 96 years old. And we inherited some of the furniture and took the U-Haul down to Cumberland and got a couple of pieces, one of which was a beautiful chair, but it was very weak and it couldn't support the weight. So I took it all apart and got the glue out and the clamps and put it together, and you know how that goes. Now it's wonderful. And I thought the glue among us is our common faith that God desires all the people of the world to live together in peace. But glue without a clamp doesn't really work. If any of you have done carpentry, the clamp is this. It's this intentional effort of coming together and standing together so that glue, that common faith that God desires all to live together in peace, will hold. And then together we can bear the weight of the public wounds that need healing so badly. Thank you so much.
Amen. It's an honor to invite my friend Monsignor Ron Langwin, representing the Diocese of Pittsburgh, to offer a few words. He'll be followed by Reverend Richard Freeman and then by Rabbi Karen Gorbin, who will read the words from Charlottesville. You're tall.
I'm here to represent my bishop, Bishop David Zubik, who would be here if he could have. He had serious surgery a few weeks ago on his back, and his doctor says he can't go out and do much, so that's why, only reason why he's not here. My reflections are, I tend to look at life as I get older in a very spiritual way. I'm a talk show host, so I can be very practical, but a lot of people ask me in various situations, some sincerely, where was God? They may not say it in the same words, but they're seeking where God was in their life when something happened, and others say it in a way to be very critical, almost as if to say there is no God. So I started a while ago, and probably happened after I had interviewed a particular author because he was doing it, when I prayed to ask God where he was in various situations. Where were you? Can you tell me where you were if I was not able to identify you myself? And I began to get answers to that. And one answer for Charlottesville was, I was there. I was weeping. I was weeping for my children, for the way in which they treated one another. The weeping, of course, was not physical tears, but emotions. Tears are filled with love. And so I think it was his way of saying that I shed my love upon them at that time. And that still wasn't enough, really, for me to wonder. But then the thought came into my mind, what could have been doesn't take away from what happened. But I don't know if you saw the mother of Heather who was killed. It was an incredible testimony to her daughter. She didn't say she was perfect, but she said there was a great deal of good that was going to come out of what happened. It was her daughter who was the one who was killed. And so I wondered, there must have been many angels there. I have great devotion to the angels. I have probably 200 statues of angels. What do you buy for a priest who has everything? You give him an angel, you know? So I have them. And so I wondered a little bit further. And my thought was that the tears, really God's love, fell upon people who would never change, but yet on people who would change from what they experienced. Sometimes we do something wrong and we walk away and say, I'll never do that again. And maybe that can happen. It'll never happen again the same way, but we know it's going to happen. God will weep again, as he has many times, even now in other parts of the world. And I wondered what that meant. And I think when it comes down to us, what does that mean to me was that the good must do even more good in the world in which we live. So we think we're doing a lot, but there is so much more to do. And the message is we never have to do it alone. Because as I was there with those people at a time when it could have been much worse, because they talked about how many guns were where they came to that situation. And if one person maybe had chosen to use his or her gun, imagine what may have happened. It could have been a shootout. Maybe not. But just as God was there, God will be with us when we try to do, when we're challenged by the good we can do even better.
Reverend Richard Freeman of Resurrection Baptist Church of Braddock, who is also tall.
I think we need to check his glasses. I bring you greetings from the Resurrection Baptist Church in Braddock, Pennsylvania. I'm a biblicist at heart, and I start with what the Word of God says for us as we start this journey together. In Genesis chapter 1, God said, "Let us make human beings in our image to be like us. They will reign over the fish in the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground." So God created human beings in God's image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Not too long ago, well, maybe a few years ago, my son brought me a book. I don't know whether it was for Christmas or whether it was for my birthday, but he bought me this book. And the title of the book is My Grandfather's Son. The book was written by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. I could not have a greater schism politically than me and Clarence Thomas. So I accepted the book with absolutely no intention of reading it. I sat the book on my shelf, and after literally years, I saw the book with dust on it, and I said, let me see what this guy's got to say. And I began to read the book. I began to read the book. I began to read the book. And I abruptly, about halfway through, I went, and I slammed it shut. I said, oh my God, Clarence Thomas and I think alike. I put the book back on the shelf, and a few weeks later, I said, I've got to finish this book. I've got to finish this book because I am intellectually vexed to think I think like Clarence Thomas. And so I read the rest of the book, and I was comforted by what I read. I was comforted by the reality that even though Clarence and I experienced the same thing. You see, I'm a Southerner. I came out of the South. I experienced Jim Crow. I experienced segregation. I integrated my elementary school when I was in 4th grade. I'm not that old, but I know what you're thinking. And so when I finished reading the book, I realized that even though Clarence Thomas and I had the same view on life, we had different remedies. And yet today, I would stand shoulder to shoulder with Clarence Thomas and defend Clarence Thomas to the hilt, even though I disagree with his remedies. It is my call, it is my heart's desire that what we saw in Charlottesville was not a clash of ideology. It was evil faced off with righteousness. And somewhere somebody made a decision that we will not tolerate the evil that we saw. Some would like to make the argument that it is a chasm between the right and the left. I fervently and adamantly disagree. It's not a conversation between the right and the left. It is the conversation between what God has said in creating us equal and those who would deny the edicts of God that says, I am as equal as you. I'm not to the right. I'm not to the left. I have coined a word for me right now. I am the human center. I am the middle. Yes, we will disagree on remedies, and that's okay among the human condition. We will not all think alike. But I challenge us that we must all lock arms and face evil with every fervent fiber of our being and tell evil there is no place for you in this place. And if we are in Charlottesville, we stand against evil. But do not be deceived. What happened in Charlottesville can happen right here in Pittsburgh. And what I hope that even though you and I may disagree on remedies, we will lock arms together and stand against evil. We will not allow segregation. We will not allow racism. We will not allow xenophobia to rise in Pittsburgh because righteousness still lives here. And I hope you will be a part of the human center. God bless you.
Rabbi Gorban is also tall.
I also have a microphone attached to me. These are words from Alan Zimmerman, who is the president of the Reformed congregation in Charlottesville. He wrote earlier this week, "At Congregation Beth Israel in Charlottesville, Virginia, we are deeply grateful for the support and prayers of the broader Reformed Jewish community. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of Heather Heyer and the 2 Virginia State Police officers, H.J. Cullen and Burke Bates, who lost their lives on Saturday, and with the many people injured in the attack who are still recovering. The loss of life far outweighs any fear or concern felt by me or the Jewish community during the past several weeks as we braced for this Nazi rally, but the effects of both will each linger. On Saturday morning, I stood outside our synagogue with the armed security guard we hired after the police department refused to provide us with an officer during morning services. Even the police department's limited promise of an observer near our building was not kept. And note, We did not ask for protection of our property, only our people as they worshiped. 40 congregants were inside. Here's what I witnessed during that time. For half an hour, 3 men dressed in fatigues and armed with semi-automatic rifles stood across the street from the temple. Had they tried to enter, I don't know what I could have done to stop them, but I couldn't take my eyes off them either. Perhaps the presence of our armed guard deterred them. Perhaps their presence was just a coincidence and I'm paranoid. I don't know. Several times, parades of Nazis passed by our building shouting, "There's the synagogue," followed by chants of Sieg Heil and other anti-Semitic language. Some carried flags with swastikas and other Nazi symbols. A guy in a white polo shirt walked by the synagogue a few times, arousing suspicion. Was he casing the building or trying to build up the courage to commit a crime? We didn't know. Later, I noticed that the man accused in the automobile terror attack wore the same polo shirt as the man who kept walking by our synagogue. Apparently, it's the uniform of a white supremacist group. Even now, that gives me a chill. When services ended, my heart broke as I advised congregants that it would be safer to leave the temple through the back entrance rather than through the front, and to please go in groups. This is 2017 in the United States of America. Later that day, I arrived on the scene shortly after the car plowed into peaceful protesters. It was a horrific and bloody scene. Soon we learned that Nazi websites had posted a call to burn our synagogue. I sat with one of our rabbis and wondered whether we should go back to the temple to protect the building. What could I do if I were there? Fortunately, it was just talk, but we had already deemed such an attack within the realm of possibilities, taking the precautionary step of removing our Torah scrolls, including a Holocaust scroll, from the premises. Again, this is America in 2017. At the end of the day, we felt we had no choice but to cancel a Havdalah service at a congregant's home. It had been announced on a public Facebook page, and we were fearful that Nazi elements might be aware of the event. Again, we sought police protection, not a battalion of police, just a single officer. But we were told simply to cancel the event. Local police faced an unprecedented problem that day, but make no mistake, Jews are a specific target of these groups. And despite nods of understanding from officials about our concerns, and despite the fact that the mayor himself is Jewish, we were left to our own devices. The fact that a calamity did not befall the Jewish community in Charlottesville on Saturday was not thanks to our politicians, our police, or even our own efforts, but to the grace of God. And yet, in the midst of all that, other moments stand out for me as well. John Aguilar, a 30-year Navy veteran, took it upon himself to stand watch over the synagogue through services Friday evening and Saturday, along with our armed guard. He just felt he should. We experienced wonderful turnout for both Friday night and Saturday morning to observe Shabbat, including several non-Jews who said they came to show solidarity, though a number of congregants, particularly elderly ones, told me they were afraid to come to synagogue. A frail elderly woman approached me Saturday morning as I stood on the steps in front of our sanctuary, crying, to tell me that while she was Roman Catholic, she wanted to stay and watch over the synagogue with us. At one point, she asked, "Why do they hate you?" I had no answer to that question we've been asking ourselves for thousands of years. At least a dozen complete strangers stopped as we stood in front of the synagogue Saturday to ask if we wanted them to stand with us. And our wonderful rabbis stood on the front lines with other Charlottesville clergy opposing hate. Most attention now is, and for the foreseeable future will be, focused on the deaths and injuries that occurred, and that is as it should be. But for most people, before the week is out, Saturday's events will degenerate into the all too familiar bickering that is part of the larger, ongoing political narrative. The media will move on, and all it will take is some new outrageous tweet to change the subject. We will get back to normal also. We have 2 B'nai Mitzvah coming up, and soon Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur will be upon us too. After the nation moves on, we will be left to pick up the pieces. Fortunately, this is a very strong and capable Jewish community, blessed to be led by incredible rabbis. We have committed lay leadership and a congregation committed to Jewish values and our synagogue. In some ways, we will even come out of it stronger, just as tempering metals makes them tougher and harder.
You know, I'm supposed to transition from that to birthday blessings. And so I'm going to take it upon myself to cite our biblical past. In Psalm 126, Hazorim B'dim Barina Yiksoru, those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. That's all it is. So I'm going to ask, if you would, I'm going to ask Kenneth Berman to come up. So the tune is very memorable. It's pretty easy to sing. You can sway. I sway during this. I actually cry as well. Cry because this time will pass. And I'm hopeful that together we will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. That's it. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Join us, here we go. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Everybody in the back, you can't hide. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Just you, no guitar. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. My only regret is I can't hear all 4 of these marvelous people preach every week here at Temple Sinai. It is our tradition at our family service, and what a family we have tonight, that we offer blessings for birthday. Anybody in August have a birthday, just stand up. I'm going to offer an impromptu blessing for you. There you go. A lot of August people here. There you go. You got more, Bill?
You are quite some speaker.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Eloheinu v'Eloheinu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our mothers and God of our fathers. Bless all of these extraordinary individuals as they continue their journey in your world, whether they are in their 2nd decade, ready to celebrate a bat mitzvah, or their 10th decade, ready to impart wisdom, knowledge, and joy. Whether in the middle of life in struggle or standing on a mountain of accomplishment, all of these people give thanks for the joy that they've experienced, the joy that they have in reaching this incredible time. And so we offer our blessing, which is called Shehechianu, like this.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lahazman hazeh. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, ruler of all, who has caused us to live, sustained us, and allowed us to reach this happy time. And as everybody else is sitting, it's your obligation to yell Mazel Tov at the top of your lungs. 1, 2, 3, Mazel Tov. Where's Rabbi Gorbin? Where's Cantor Berman?
Right here.
Oh my gosh. We usually hand out candy. I thought we wouldn't be able to do that.
I don't know whose birthday it's.
That's wonderful. Okay, we'll do that. If you did not get candy, we hope that you will stay after our service for the Oneg Shabbat. Oneg means delight of Shabbat, and we have prepared much food. We did not know if 50 or 400 were coming. We're closer to the latter than the former. And we're honored by your presence and willingness to stand up together. And in Rabbi Freeman's words, our teacher, Rabbi Freeman, to not say yes to evil and not let it pass quietly, but to stand arm in arm together against it. Tomorrow, we have our regular morning minyan at we have Torah study at 8:30 in the morning. Our minyan's at 9:15. Grayson, 10:30. Be there, be square. I know Tim Stevens has an event from 10 to 1 in the afternoon that we as Jews cannot attend because we are observing our Shabbat, and there are other events. I also know that Representative Dan Frankel is going to be at 10 o'clock at Freedom Corner in downtown, pushing a rally to finally get better hate legislation in the state of Pennsylvania. Some of you know of other events. I hope that you will share them. I hope that no one leaves here tonight without learning the name of one person you don't already know. Somebody sitting by you, in front of you, behind you. Somebody of a different faith. Somebody from a different city. Somebody from a different community. Because together, we cannot be conquered by hate. It's that simple. I want to also thank Cantor Berman, and I want to thank Rabbi Gorbin for helping put together the service. That picture of the Words of Unity support was from today downtown, at the prayer and spiritual rally that our Mayor Peduto, and Valerie McDonald put together. So we're going to go on to our concluding prayers. We start with one called Aleinu, which affirms that God is ruler over us all. It's our tradition to please rise for this prayer as you are able.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei kedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kagoyei haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated, everyone. My dear friend and former student, Rabbi Michael Latz of Shir Tikva, the LGBTQ congregation in Minneapolis, Minnesota, wrote a response or a bookend for Reverend Niemöller. And it goes like this. I'll read it to you. First, they came for trans people, and I spoke up because God does not make mistakes. Then they came for the African Americans, and I spoke up because we are each other's keeper. Then they came for the women, and I spoke up because women hold half the sky. And then they came for the immigrants, and I spoke up because I remember the ideals of our democracy. And then they came for the Muslims, and I spoke up because they are my cousins, and we are one human family. And then they came for the Native Americans and Mother Earth, and I spoke up because the blood-soaked land cries and the mountains weep. They keep coming. We keep rising up because we Jews know the cost of silence. We remember where we came from. And we will link arms because when you come for our neighbors, you come for us. And that just won't stand.
V'nemar v'yadonai v'melech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu
please read together on the screen. Oh, go back one, please. Go back one. Can you go back one? Thus it has been said together,
Adonai will become sovereign of all the earth. On that day Adonai will become one, and God's name will be one.
It is our long tradition that at services those who are in mourning or observing the anniversary of mourning have an opportunity to be recognized as mourners and to recite the mourner's Kaddish. At the very end, when I recite all the names and those who care to will stand for their relatives, we will all stand with them for two reasons. One, we never allow mourners to stand alone. And two, in some sense, we are all mourners for those who died in Barcelona, all those who died in an incredibly impossible to believe mudslide in Sierra Leone, those who died of hate, those who died who were part of our lives. As I read the name of those whose anniversaries of whose death occurred this Shabbat, if it is somebody for whom you are saying Kaddish, we'll ask you to rise. This week we commemorate the names of Mary Benkovitz, Cookie Besterman, and Freda Wild Century, Albert Davidson, Bernard Divac, and Ben Aaronworth, Emil Elligator, Julian Elligator, Daniel Fine, please rise, Lily W. Gefsky, Jean Hamburg, Mary Harris, George Helfant, Seymour Willis Herwald, Hinda Honig, Harriet Karp, Roberta Davis Kroll, Mike Levine, Thomas Lewis, Marvin Friedenberg, Morris Lifsher, Hyman Moretsky, Sala Mordechai, Stephanie Muller, Morris Oshry, Morton Perelman, Sidney Polk, Mark Pollack, Abe Rubin, Janet M.L. Schaefer, Anna Soledar, Bessie Tolstoy, and Anthony Trimble, Sophie Winkle, Saul Weiss, Benjamin Weisband, Eleanor Whitcower, Abe Zalman, and Kyle Steiner. And now we remember those whose recent deaths we still mourn: Marvin Tanzer, Charlene Tarlow, Harvey Hauptman, Bernice Levine, Sam German, and those who died in Charlottesville: Lieutenant H.J. Cullen, Pilot Burke M.M. Bates, and Heather Heyer. We rise with all of our mourners, and those who will may join in mourners' Kaddish, our prayer of faith for the sake of all those who have died. Yid Kadal, Yid Kadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chai echon v'yom echon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei d'kudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata damiram b'yoma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlam araba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav huya aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. May the source of peace in the high heavens cause peace to descend on all of us, all Israel, upon our shattered world, desperately in need of mending and healing by our own hands, upon all of us who still mourn our beloved dead. As together we say, Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing. All of our guest clergy I'm going to ask to come to the front, and all those clergy who are not yet in the front, please come up. We're going to do a mash-up. We're going to sing Down by the Riverside, and in the middle, we're going to sing the Hebrew words for they shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Lo yisa goy el goy cherev. If anybody is here was not in the front row, I apologize, did not mean, but if you are clergy, no, big line over here. Make a big line. Here we go. We added a couple verses. We'll end. Rabbi Gorbin will, there we go. You could hold the hand of somebody next to you. One. Look at all this clergy. Come on down further. Simon says 3 more steps. I'm going to lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm going to lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Lo yisa goy el goy chareb, lo yilmadu od milchama, lo yisa goy el goy chareb.
goy el goy chereb.
I'm gonna stand
Down to bigotry,
down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna stand up
to bigotry,
down by the riverside, down by
the riverside.
Lo yisagoy el goy chereb, lo yilmadu od milchama, lo yisagoy el goy chereb, lo yisagoy el goy chereb, lo yilmadu od milchama, lo yisagoy el goy chereb. Last verse. We're going to cross
over hand in hand,
down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside.
We're going to cross over hand in hand, down by the riverside, down by the riverside.
Lo yisagoy el goy chereb, lo yilmadu od milchama, lo yisagoy el goy chereb, lo yisagoy el goy chereb, lo yilmadu od milchama, lo yisagoy el goy chereb. Just you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield, down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down
my sword and shield,
down by the riverside, down by the riverside. We say, Bruchim atem b'voachem. May you be blessed every place you come into God's world. Bruchim atem b'tzeitchem. May you be blessed every place you go out into God's world. Remembering the feeling you have at this very moment. A feeling that there are no walls, only bridges, only fabric of human family stitched together in faith, commitment, and love. As together we say,
Amen. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei mizonot. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, ruler of all, who makes animal crackers and all kinds of good food. As together we say, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thanks.